welcome back to Pod Return to the Waking Sands. We are a Final Fantasy XIV companion podcast where we explore the lore and story of Hydaelyn and beyond. My name is Jen, and I am joined by my co-host and researcher.
I'm Levi.
Hello, Levi.
Make sure you stay to the very end of the episode as we have a special announcement at the end. Today, we are continuing the main story quest, and we'll be playing through the Howling Eye. But first, what happened last time, Jen?
I knew you were going to ask me this, and I was dreading it because it's been
3 weeks.
Far too long. So this is where we're in Kurthus, and we're trying to uncover the mystery of, well, like, a lot of heretics are being executed for some reason, and we're pretty suspicious. We're trying to get permission to get into the Stone Vigil because that's where we know the airship may be, and this fucking guy, the Inquisitor Guillaume, is going around town and be like, don't listen to these guys. They're also heretics and they're outsiders. So he's following us all around town, like telling people not to talk to us. And we're like, what the fuck is up with this guy? So we find out what is up with this guy. He killed the actual Inquisitor, took his identity over, and then started like executing a bunch of people in service of the Dravanians. So we figure that out. He dies. At long last, we get permission to get into the Stone Vigil. And so we do the dungeon. We find the airship and make our way back to Redania to figure out what the fuck.
Yeah. We made our landing with the Enterprise last time. Sid surveys the airship, and he feels like it completes a part of him that he didn't know was missing during his amnesia times.
Yeah. He's just kind of looking at this thing going, yeah, this feels right.
So Alphino informs us that we've been given permission by the Sea Tiers to house and repair the Enterprise. A good thing, too, because we're here bailing them out of their Garuda situation.
Seriously.
Do we have permission to save your asses?
I guess.
The airship will need extensive repairs in order to brave the Howling Eye, which is Garuda's domain. But even at full strength, full repair, Sid wonders if the airship can brave the elements. Elements, of course. We'll use a corrupted elemental crystal to nullify the winds and clear a path through the storm. And we just used a similar tactic in the Ixal tribe quest finale.
Exactly.
So Alphino explains to us what a corrupted crystal is. The corrupted crystals are these glowing, sickly orange formations we've been seeing all across the landscape since day one of this game. There can be small ones, or some of them are as big as mountain ranges. And what these are, though, they are also known as over-aspected crystals, as in there is too much of an elemental aspect in these things, so they are, in a sense, kind of supercharged, like when you dissolve sugar into water with heat, so it absorbs more than it could contain normally.
Right.
This over-aspecting of these crystals corrupts them, and evidently we can use these things to counteract opposing elements to the crystals.
Right.
And these crystals warp etheric energy, including that in living creatures. So we need one that will specifically warp wind energy, and Sid knows of a possible lead from his days at the church in his guise as Marquez.
You know, out there in Camp Drybone or at the Adama Lama, whatever the fuck it's called, chapel.
Church of Saint Adama Landama.
Adama Landama. I always
Adama
think of
Lama.
I think of Admiral Adama from Battlestar Galactica. Not a lot to do out there, right? Sid as Marquez doesn't know what he's capable of, so he's probably hella bored and he's going to Camp Drybone. He's going into the what is it? The unending sleep or the forever sleep or the eternal sleep?
Eternal sleep is the name of the inn where this scholar resides.
That's horrifying.
Sure, but it's also...
Death surrounds them here.
It's Nullthal, exactly. So it's on brand.
Yes. It seems like a nice place otherwise. So he's just hanging out in Lambertaint.
Lambertaint, indeed.
I'm going to call him Lambert because it's probably like a Lamberchamp or something. He's just kind of holing up here and monitoring some of his students who are out in Eorzea doing some studies and stuff. And like this is a pet project of his is corrupted crystal and figuring that shit out.
Right. Lambertaint Lambert is a handsome, gray-haired Elizin.
A little snotty.
Very snotty. He is a professor, evidently.
Mm-hmm.
He is happy to talk to anyone who wants to know about corrupted Aether.
Yeah, we're like, hey man, are you the guy that knows about the corrupted crystal? And he's like, oh yeah, you want to talk about it? I'll fucking talk about it. And we're like, okay, settle down.
And you know that Marquez guy was always happy to chat. Wonder where he went.
Yeah.
And we start this mini trend for the sequence of our character being terrible at communicating, because we could say, hey, we know who Marquez is. He's actually Sid. We can hook you guys up if you want to connect.
I mean, we could, but Sid's got more important shit going on right now. So if Sid wanted to, he could go back and be like, hey, remember me? Yeah, no, my real name is Sid.
I know, but this guy thinks his friend has disappeared. We could at least ease his concerns, saying, hey, you know, he's fine, actually. And Sid can then set up a coffee meeting whenever he wants to. But I think it's unkind to leave this guy hanging, wondering where his former companion is when we know and could dispel this concern in just a moment.
Wow.
I have other comments about the way our character acts during the sequence, but I'll save them for the wrap up. So we tell Lambert that we want a corrupted crystal. He suddenly becomes alarmed. If we harvest these things, we could warp our very Aether.
What?
But fortunately, he can hook us up with a warded pot that will keep us safe from the crystals. At least when they're off the rock, off the chunk. The harvesting is still dangerous.
He's like, oh, look at this, a scholar in training come to talk to me about corrupted crystals. And they were like, yeah, can we just go get some? And he's like, oh, clearly you're not as smart as I thought, because you think you can just go and harvest these things without getting hurt or whatever. So he's like, well, I still have hope for you. So here is a warded pot.
I'm assuming it's like ethereal radiation in a sense.
Yeah, for sure. It'll probably fuck you up. It'll turn you into those people who are sick in Bronze Lake.
Yeah.
Yeah. You're going to be having weird nightmares about mummers.
So he sends us to his contact, his student Haha Sako in Highbridge. Haha Sako is a Lala, of course. We find him on one of the projecting platforms over the chasm that gives Highbridge its name.
Yeah, he's just kind of gazing out into the distance, and we walk up, and he's like, no, I am not trying to commit suicide. God! We're like,
he is performing
okay.
scientific measurements, Jin.
That's what we thought. Okay, anyway, way to come out swinging, dude.
This starts the trend. All these students have some sort of persecution complex.
Well, they're all weird.
Sure,
in different ways.
They all...
Except for the last guy. He seemed pretty cool.
They all think that we're there to nag on their pursuits. Maybe this is like a new science because these things arose in great number after the calamity. The old school scholars don't take them seriously, so they've got something to prove.
Also, they're just kind of like hella nerds all up in their area of study, and people around them are pirates and merchants and drunks, and they're probably getting a whole lot of, what the fuck are you doing here, nerd? Maybe they don't have a ton of social skills.
Sure.
Because they're hella nerds.
That could be it. Speaking
from experience. So I have sympathy for their position. Yeah, the first one, he's a little uppity. He's a little on edge. But he throws out a bunch of Jabberwocky references, which I enjoy.
He becomes very excited once he learns that the professor is trusting him to explain to us how to harvest crystals.
Of course. Why wouldn't he ask his best pupil?
And we can find them in the Burning Wall, which is a massive range of corrupted crystals on the eastern edge of Eastern Thanalan. And you can see these things from anywhere in the zone, these spires of these glowing orange crystals. And when I was doing this, it was raining heavily in the zone, so you couldn't even see the actual mountain range, but you could still see the glow of the crystals shining through the rain. Yeah,
you can get there's still the vibe because they glow through the fog and stuff. It's pretty sweet. I had a very gorgeous, clear evening. So
well, congrats, Jen. The Burning Wall's name predates the calamity. It used to be named for the red glow that was cast by the sun setting over the cliffs. However, those cliffs were shattered during the calamity, but the crystal formations that arose recently still make the name very appropriate.
So Hahasako, he is also a fan of alliteration. He throws in these little alliterative chunks throughout his speech, and I'm like, knock it off. He's like, oh, well, I totally have a bead on where you can get some of this hella corrupted crystal. You do have to go down into like the depths of the Burning Wall, which you'll go through Burgundy Falls, which is this rocky. If you're if you did any thaumaturge stuff, you've been here. And it's just like a rocky, dry tunnel out through the back. But once you hit that opening, it's like, oh, it's such a spectacular landscape with all of these crystal spires and these winding, thin, like earthen platforms labyrinthining themselves down into the base of the falls. And it's super cool, but I got lost.
Yeah, it's one of my favorite areas aesthetically in the game period, not just A Realm Reborn.
Yeah, it's incredible. I took a screenshot. It's not very impressive because I don't use G-pose because that's a whole other skill set that I haven't looked into yet. But I just really liked it. You're in this little tunnel, then all of a sudden, like, it just opens up in front of you, especially on a clear night with the stars and everything. Super cool.
Hahasako then gives us a, quote, highly advanced researcher's tool with which to harvest the crystal, a giant sledgehammer. So we wind our way down to the base. I, too, took a wrong turn on the way down, Jin, not just you. And we go past hordes of mirror knights, the crow-winged constructs, quartz doblins, and golden fleeces, the last ones being the little sheepy guys with the
giant
big,
eyeballs.
poofy, coats.
They're so cool. God, I'm desperate for, I want a tattoo of all the things. Of the evil weapon, a deep eye, either like a furball or a golden fleece, and my little major general, like all sitting around in a circle, like having sandwiches or something like that. Or like all of those guys minus the major general sitting around a pentagram on the floor, and they have summoned the major general. Something like that, where they're all just like all these little mobs that I think are the coolest looking mobs, all just like chilling.
I believe, Jin. You can make it happen.
And it's like, it's either they have more or less than the standard number of eyes, or if they have the standard number of eyes, they have to be crazy, like a furball. Their eyes are crazy.
This is what Jin looks for in a man.
Crazy eyes. Or like 4 eyes. Or just one big one.
So we whack a corrupted crystal, pod it, and return.
You pod it and return?
Thank you, Jen. Very nice.
Yeah.
It's great. It's a fantastic specimen, says Lambert. It's overflowing with wind aspected aether. Oh, what? You want to nullify wind? Well, this will do the opposite. Well, maybe you should go and see my other student who is working on some crystals on the Isles of Umbra in western La Nocia.
Okay.
But I'll give this crystal here to the students of Baldecion as a research subject.
Well, he was like, you should go check out, or go talk to my student in eastern La Nocia, blah, blah, blah. It's like, no, wait. My student's in western La Nocia. The eastern La Nocia guy, he almost got ate by some shit.
By the Imperials.
Yeah. Yeah, he wandered too close to
Castrum.
And almost died. So, okay, not that guy, but the other guy.
So we head for Aleport, and we meet up with Sienna, who is a pink-haired Midlander. Mm-hmm. All of these scholars have been wearing red tunics with black accents.
Bleos. Mm-hmm. These are fancy gowns.
Excuse me, Jin.
Yeah, you know what? Just use the appropriate fashion. Yes. Well, these are expensive pieces of clothing. So obviously these are people from very, well-to-do families. You have to, like we all know, you have to have fucking hella funds to live a life of academia.
Again, Sienna gets defensive on us. She thinks that we are here to make fun of her, but no, we show her the pot saying, hey, we're actually here to collect this corrupted crystal.
We're on your side, girl.
And she brightens up immediately. There are indeed some good crystals on the Isles of Umbra, but travel to them is shut down. The Yellow Jackets have refused her passage, even after explaining the value of her scholarly pursuits. But maybe we'll have better luck.
Yeah, like I said, not a lot of social skills. She doesn't know how to ask questions. And she's still like totally in the dark. Because we go and talk to 3 different people, and they're very forthcoming with why nobody's allowed out there. And why they couldn't be paid to do it either. So we talked to 3 Yellow Jackets, about what's going on with the total like lockdown of the Isles of Umbra, and they're like, well, it's death. There's a lot of death out there, and ghosts, and death, and zombies. Yep, that about sums it up. So I wouldn't recommend it. And we go back to Sienna with our information, and she's like, actually, so while you were doing that, I went to the bar and asked around, and apparently there's this dude named Zifrid, I suppose. Skifrin, who just got back from the Isles of Umbra. He was arrested because we're not allowed to go there.
As a side note, Sienna does not believe in all of this superstition that has been cast around. She thinks that all this talk of death and ghosts and so on is local folklore.
Which is fair. It's also very possible. People love their rumors.
Anyway, Skifrin came back.
Well, Skifrin, so he's in jail, right? So we got to talk to him, and he's lost his marbles completely. Like he can't really form a coherent sentence. He's just saying shit about like, oh my, I need to go back. I needed to be with her. Her call, blah, blah, blah. He does have the wherewithal to give us a golden feather and to give it to Mimidoa. Is that right? Mimidoa?
Yes.
Mimi?
And he says,
Mimidoa, yeah.
Tell Mimidoa, I'm sorry, he was right.
Yeah. So there's a little bit of Skifrin still in there, but
yep.
he's in the drunk tank for a reason.
We don't know any Mimidoa, but we tell Sienna what happened. And she does know this guy.
Unfortunately.
He is evidently an arse-grabbing bastard that hangs out at the pub.
And when we say arse, we mean ass.
I'm sure everyone knows that, Jen.
Do they? Yes, they might. It's like, oh, he's that little fucker that grabbed my ass at the bar. It's our job yet again to talk to this guy.
She's not going to go back and see him.
Right? I'm almost like, oh, I don't want to talk to him either. Like, ugh.
And we find him on the docks. He is a pervy-looking Lala who has overalls and apron on, but no shirt. And a mustache.
He is a silver-haired Lala, so he's probably approaching 60. He very much looks like a guy that just walked out of the blacksmith's guild. He very much looks like a worker guy.
I hope they wear shirts in the blacksmith's guild.
Right? So, okay, he's doing something that isn't with hot lava coals.
He's doing something else hot though, as he is scoping out the arse of a Mikote dock worker when we find him.
Yeah, so he's not so slyly just ogling this woman from behind, trying to make it look like he's also trying to examine some boxes. Like what a
if you know what I mean.
Oh my fucking god. So yeah, we interrupt him as he's about ready to reach out and sexually assault somebody. So yeah, like, hey man, what's up? Here's a feather from your friend Skifrin. Wow, that poor guy. Well, let me tell you what's going on over there. So Mimidoa was actually like a dude hired to go fix, there's a structure out on the Isles of Umbra called the Pharos Sirius. And it's a tower with a beacon, and it's meant for, it's like a lighthouse, right? To just tell, ships coming in, like, avoid, it's dangerous out here. So the beacon is broken. Mimidoa and a bunch of dudes were hired to fix it. And he's like, we cannot make any progress because workers just, they'll walk off.
Half walked away, half ran away, and half vanished. We do not challenge his math.
That's the joke.
However, he is looking for a new initiate to go and survey Pharos Sirius. And what? We want the job? Great. We're hired.
He wants us to figure out why are people running away screaming from this place? Like, why can't he get any work done? What's going on? And instead of hiring some sellswords to go do it, we showed up. So off we go. We do get essentially a permission slip from him, which is great. That's exactly what we needed. We convinced Sienna to come with us. She really doesn't want to.
Despite her big talk about not believing in ghosts, she suddenly gets very nervous about the Isles.
Once she's there, she's like, I got wet feet. Well, she shows up and she's like, you know what? It's a lot better than I thought. I wouldn't build a summer home here, but otherwise it's quite nice, which is a Princess Bride reference, of course. She's like, okay, I'll see you later. Go explore and figure out what the undead and shit is going on. And okay, bye.
So the Isles of Umbra is a ship graveyard off the coast of western La Nocia. It is also home to the lighthouse Pharos Sirius, which is a technologically advanced lighthouse that uses ethereal energy rather than fire to power its beacon. However, during the calamity, a fragment of Dalamud struck the lighthouse, reacting with the stored energies and causing it to erupt into the corrupted aether that we are in search of. The main isle of the Isles of Umbra is a sandy piece of land with several tall white stone bluffs that tower over the beaches. And also, immediately above us on the coast is the lighthouse, which is almost fortress-like in its magnitude.
Mm-hmm. I mean, it's really like a fortress. It's not even like a lighthouse. It's like a fortress that happens to have a lighthouse.
And a handful of plasmoids are flickering on the beach. These are little glowing blue energy wisps that are speculated to be waste energy from machinery, which would make sense given the lighthouse's proximity.
We see the plasmoids in a variety of areas around Eorzea. You see them in Proud Creek just because we just did the Ixal thing. And I had to run through them 75 times. So I think they generally exist where it's almost like, you know, when people talk about ghosts, right? There's unfinished business, or there's a history of a very violent series of deaths in an area or something. There's there's a lot of baggage in the air in this space, and that's where the plasmoids tend to materialize. So it may be like etheric rancor from someone who has died, or it's residual etheric energy from, like Levi said, machinery, but just generally like an overabundance of some shit.
Some shit.
Right. So maybe, and it's not typically positive. So that's where we are. And I bet when Sienna saw those, that's when she was like, oh, fuck. Don't know what that's about. I'm not going to hang out and find out.
We, though, press on onto the island, and we run into David immediately, who is the lighthouse / fortress keeper.
He's the gatekeeper, literally. Yeah.
And he tells us to turn right back around because the corrupted crystals are inside Pharaoh Sirius, and that place is on lockdown.
Dead men tell no tales.
Thanks, Jen. But he will harvest a crystal for us if we investigate the island's spooky denizens for him.
He's more than happy to give us that job.
So why don't we go and ask that band of adventurers who showed up recently what they've learned? This band seems more like pirates or smugglers, in my opinion.
Definitely. They're here to They're here to pillage a ship graveyard. Like, there's no camaraderie here. You know, this is pure piracy.
Right. We find them at a secluded campsite on a nearby beach.
It's actually a really lovely little spot that they have. It's like a really calm little cove that they found. It's like, I would vacation there 100%. But anyway,
on the haunted isle?
Sure, with plasmoids and undead walking around, not so much, but it is very nice.
This group has a few side quests for us too, if we're so inclined. Mainly, they want us to go and salvage the shipwreck for them because they're too afraid of all the stuff to do it themselves.
No problem. Cowards.
Yep. But these supposed adventurers relate that the far shipwrecked beach is haunted by the undead that seem to be fixated on the water, and there is a strange voice that torments them. So we tell David what we learned, and he seems concerned by this report. They have returned. Anyway, Master Mimido is here, and he's getting impatient, so why don't you go and check him out?
He calls us Initiate. Like, what's up, Initiate? It's a very, like, broken accent that he has, and it's... If he weren't such a fucking creep, he would be very charming. He would be like an adorable character. I wish they would take the ass grab out of it. But anyway, he's come along to just check up on us and make sure that we're still doing stuff. We tell him what we learned from the quote unquote adventurers, and he's like, yep, that's what I fucking thought. The bitch is back, and by bitch he means siren. So in moons and moons ago, our little Mimidoa worked under Mistbeard, the famous Mistbeard. And they had basically defeated this same siren back then. They didn't defeat her, they like banished her.
I get the impression that there are multiple...
Really?
Yes, because he refers to them in the plural.
Okay.
The direct quote is that back when he was a cannon boy, we learned him a lesson that they wouldn't forget, except that they would go and return again, wouldn't they? Brazen biddies.
Biddies. That did it. So it's like a cadre of sirens or whatever, but they beat them back so viciously back then that he it's not like he didn't think they would ever come back, but he didn't think they would come back so soon. But hey, at least he knows exactly what's going on. So he's like, all right, let's go to this fucking beach. Again, ass grabber fuckface he's got some chutzpah.
He tells us that the sirens, their song lures men to their watery graves on brand.
We know all that shit.
But also, these men stay bound to the beasts even in death. They are forced to do their bidding until their corpses fall apart. So this explains all of these skeletons on the isle.
Yeah.
And as we go deeper into the isle, we come across some giant mantises, animated skeletons of dead sailors, and vultures.
The skeletons walking around, their official name is what, like Dead Man's Moan?
Yeah.
Which is really spooky.
There is also a magic pot here.
A magic pot?
Yes, which is a pot with a little purple imp guy inside of it. These are recurring Final Fantasy creatures that are more puzzles than enemies. Typically, you give them something good, like a consumable, and they will give you something in return. So in this implementation in 14, they just demand an elixir, and you can open up a trading interface with them. And if you give it an elixir or a high elixir, it will then give back to you a wind-up sun and a wind-up moon minion.
Oh, holy shit! I totally forgot. Okay, now I have to go back.
Yeah.
And trade with a little imp. That's so cute.
So these are stationary light sources, mostly for G-posing, I'm assuming. Visibility isn't really a mechanic in this game.
That checks out.
And if you /poke the minions, they will change their height. So if you poke the sun, it'll go up or down if you want to fiddle with it.
Yep. That's very cool.
Unfortunately, or fortunately, I don't know, they do not follow you around.
Weird. So you'd have to like direct them like a pet.
Well, you summon them and they will appear next to you and they stay put there.
So you walk away and they're just chilling.
Yeah, exactly.
Like you could teleport to a different area and they wouldn't follow you, or they would follow you to where you teleport and then just chill at that exact fucking spot.
When they despawn, they will respawn on you, but they do not move to follow you around.
Oh, weird. Okay.
There's some other minions like this too. There's I think it's a cushion that it's called a minion, even though it's more of like an interface trick where you can summon the cushion, it stays put on the ground, and then you can /sit on it if you want to look like you've got a comfy seat.
I see, like a campfire. It's the same thing. I said that in the weirdest way. A campfire.
Campfire. Yes.
Yeah, same thing. So you summon it. It's just like a little bit of environmental.
Yeah.
Propery, which is super cool. Anyway. So now Mimido is involved in this shit. So he's lighting a fire on the beach. He is luring the siren out. We're going to deal with this bitch right now. And we're waiting, and we're waiting, and we're waiting. And just as he falls asleep, here she comes, ooh, singing her song.
And as she appears, Mimidoa yells at us to put in the earplugs he's given us.
Yeah, got it.
So we do, and the battle is joined. The siren appears over the water. She is a big woman who had... She is a larger-than-life woman.
She's an impressive woman.
She is, who is encased in these golden feathers. She has like a cocoon of them over her head that goes up into a crest. The battle begins with her just floating beyond the shore's edge and calling in her undead minions first.
Yeah, so they come in out of the depths and fight us round after round after round.
And as we fight them, the siren will telegraph ground AoEs that burst into a swirl of music. Any thralls who are in this are healed fully. So we need to lure them away from the ground markers. And it can be tough to see them because when it appears in the surf, it's very hard to see the AoE marker. I
wasn't sure. I just knew that when they exploded, I got hurt.
That's the next phase.
Oh, I noticed this not at all. When
she adds another
little dirty bubbles show up.
Yeah, that's the move she adds in the third phase, where she will summon in watery bubbles that contain music notes, and they will swirl around the arena. And if one collides with you, it will explode for some damage.
It's a decent amount of damage.
Yeah.
Yeah. So run away.
Eventually, a skeleton captain arrives.
He's big. He's a big guy.
He is a big guy. We fight the skeleton, and the main complication here is that there are a lot of these little watery damage bubbles flying around while we fight the captain.
It's kind of annoying, but yeah.
But once we dispatch it, the siren retreats back to the waves.
Yeah. Tell your friends.
And all throughout the fight, she sings in halting words, cast out, callous soul, dead to desire. Spare, mournful mistress, distress. Dost thou not, to relent, regret, forever alone. After we give her a total eclipse of the heart,
turn around.
She says eclipse of the heart, like legit.
She does?
Yes. Mimidoa is satisfied that we've driven her away for now. David gives us our promised crystal, and we return to Sienna and Aleport. This crystal is fantastic. It has an abundance of fire. Oh, what's that? We want to nullify wind. Well, we need an ice aspected crystal then. Whoops.
You don't say.
Good thing that Sienna has an associate in Gridania that can hook us up.
But no, for real? For real? They can hook us up? Okay? We're not fucking around. We're not doing this again.
Well, TBD.
But what's more, that's it. That's it.
This crystal, though, in Gridania is special. We don't even need a special pot to contain it.
For reasons you will discover later.
Right about now. The next and hopefully last scholar is Hedin, a purple-haired, bespectacled Midlander in the same red and black tunic as the others. He tells us that the crystals we seek used to be found in a place called the Standing Courses, but no longer. There is only one crystal that fits our needs. Why?
Well, the giant Spriggan Giggity, yeah, that's his name, ate it. So we're going to have to tauntaun his ass and cut him open and take it back.
These crystals are evidently delicious to Spriggans, and they, fortunately, though, take an eternity to digest, so it should still be intact in its stomach. We are given a special lure, a true heart, a lump of blood-red ore, and head to the Standing Courses, which are on the west end of Central Shroud. The lush forest of the Shroud abruptly transitions into a wasteland of dead tree trunks. This area was torched by Bahamut after emerging from Dalamud. It would have been another site of towering corrupted crystal, except for the hungry Spriggan. We can still see a few faint patches of orange crystal, but that's it. So we head into a pit in the earth called the Spriggan Dig, and I'm gathering that this area was hollowed out by the Spriggans as they devoured all of the corrupted crystal over here. So we place the bait, and an enormous Spriggan emerges.
Real big. This is Giggity.
Big Giggity.
So we kill it, and we take the crystal, and we go back to, I don't want to say his name is like Hedin, because maybe it's Hedin. We take him back to Hedin, and he's like, so, you want to know why this is safe to touch and none of the other ones are? It's because the bodily fluids of Giggity coat the thing and act as its own ward. Isn't that cool? That's why it's all like slimy and shit.
Oh, and it's overflowing with Earth Aether. Just kidding. It's
you
ice.
You son of a bitch. Not cool, bro. And then he's like, yeah, maybe that wasn't cool. You guys have been through some stuff.
Oh, and also, Professor Lambertaint has a message for Marquez, but Hedin didn't write it down, so he forgot. Something about craving intellectual stimulation from Marquez or something.
Too bad he can't get that from, apparently, his best pupils.
His best people can't write down a fucking note.
Well, that's why Hedin is like, that's why I'm his greatest pupil, because I don't fill my head with a bunch of useless shit.
We return to the airship landing, hand over the crystal, and get a hefty verbal pat on the back. Sid is back in his element, working on the airship, accomplishing feats of daring and engineering. This is what he was born to do. And now nothing stands between us and Garuda.
Yeah, he's feeling his power right now.
Well, there's a slight chance of a catastrophic... It'll be fine. Better think positive.
Yeah. I mean, if anybody is going to handle it, if it's Sid, great. If it weren't, then maybe there'd be issues. But like, look, there's no one else on this star who is better equipped to deal with this than Sid. So like, whatever happens, fucking happens.
What about Nero?
I knew you were going to say that. Probably yes, but God, is it at what cost?
At what gain?
God, insufferable that man is. But also just so hot.
to Kurthus and an audience with the Harpy Queen Garuda. Enterprise, engage.
Anyway, so now we're up in the air. The wind is flying through our hair, and we are giving Sid some, encouraging gazes and hand touches. And all of a sudden, Sid reaches up and he takes his goggles off and he looks at them. And he's like, how long have I been wearing these?
This exposes his third Garlean eye for the first time.
Right, we're like,
He is thinking back to the 1.0 days when he transported a group of adventurers to go fight against Nael von Darnus,
the legatus of the 7th Imperial Legion.
This recollection on Sid's part triggers an echo flashback in us. And we see young Sid looking dapper in a quilted coat. There's a sequence where time flashes forward, kind of representing his engineering training back in the...
Yeah, it's him growing up in Garlemald.
Yeah, exactly. And we see more and more engineering apparatus appearing around him as time flashes forward. And he narrates about how he used to be close to his father, but realized his father was obsessed with the Meteor Project.
He turned to Gaius, really, as kind of like the analog father figure. But, of course, Gaius is very similarly minded. They both have just this unrelenting obsession, and they've lost their humanity, and he bailed.
So the view now switches to the Enterprise, and we see younger...
Clean-shaven.
Sure.
Non-bearded Sid, yeah. I think he's hot now. I mean, he's a very attractive man. He's Daddy Sid, right?
Oh my God.
But without the facial hair, he looks so much younger. But I would say, like, there's still, the eyes are very similar. And of course, the haircut's the same.
Anyway, there's also Biggs and Wedge on board.
Yay.
He narrates that he fled to Eorzea to start the ironworks, and suddenly a sparkling light appears at the front of the airship. This is still in the Echo flashback.
Mm-hmm.
Our character emerges from the sparkling light and gives Sid his goggles. He goes on then to recount how he used his knowledge to help Eorzea, to prove that it could be used for good and not to serve the Empire's ambitions.
Right. It's like, I can do more and I can do better with my gifts.
And we return to the present at last with older man bearded Sid, who's still hot.
Darn tootin'.
And he says an odd line now.
That light, it was you, wasn't it? It's surprising how few people know this, but all pure-blood Garleans have a third eye. Perhaps mine helped me recognize you, or perhaps it was just a lucky guess.
And I thought this was a nod to the 1.0 Warriors of Light, but it's a bit odd since it's being said to our characters,
right.
And in our cases, we were not around for that stuff. I did some poking around online based on this.
Yeah.
I was not the only one confused by this scene. There was no conclusive answer I could find from my online forays. And you can almost explain this away saying that this represents us restoring Sid's memory by symbolically giving him his memories with the echo in the form of the goggles.
Right. I like that because otherwise it really doesn't make sense.
But that does not explain the line about him recognizing us, because we have not met Sid until we met his Marquez persona. This is kind of a bit of a mental gymnastic, but you could say he recognized the Warrior of Light blessing, whatever, that was held by the ones before the Calamity, and we have the same blessing. So maybe that's what he's reacting to. And that's the best way to justify it, because our characters were not around for the Calamity, and the game itself supports that.
Right.
As the characters who were imported from 1.0 have a special intro that only they get, where they, rather than come in on a cart or boat, they get teleported into the land itself by Louis Soix.
Right.
And that matches the FMV, A Realm Reborn intro.
Exactly.
So they get like a special video where they appear in a flash of light and they walk into town versus having Cart Guy
So cool.
saying, welcome adventurer, welcome to Ul'dah
Right.
or
All right.
whatever.
Yeah. So you're 18 years old. You're starting your life out with you want to be an adventurer. Yeah.
Anyway, I'm going to brush it off as being like a weird A Realm Reborn-ism ultimately.
Yeah. I think honestly what bothered me the most about it was we were like, yeah, man, it was us. Like we're totally enabling this memory of his, which honestly we should be like, it wasn't me, but okay. We're like looking at him like, yes, that was me coming to you in the form of a bunch of stars, finally congealing into a form that was recognizable to you as me. Like, that doesn't make any sense.
I think that there's actually a much stronger story that says that we use the power of the echo to reawaken his memories, and that was the symbology of the goggles. I don't think that at any point in time an angelic anyone appeared.
Sure, no, that literally did not happen.
I think that's a metaphor. But it's the recognizing dialogue that gets me kind of hung up, not the goggle cutscene.
Totally. I mean, like, all of this is very metaphorical. So, yeah, that's fine.
I'm pretty sure this is just like a weird dialogue quirk that never comes up again. As far as I know, this never again is referenced or is relevant. So,
correct. Yeah.
If a listener knows better, please tell us.
Or
We'd be
if
happy.
you've got your own fucking theory, like, bring it on. It seems very, very flexible and very, very much open to interpretation.
Yep.
So, right on. But what it does is this is essentially the final step in the complete unlocking of all of Sid's memories. So after this cutscene, he is like, I'm fucking back, baby. I know why and how and who I am, what it is that I want to do with my life. So let's go get that Garuda bitch. Yeah. And then down we go.
We do. We touch down in the Howling Eye. This place is pure storms. Mm-hmm. We see directly ahead of us, there is a wooden gate that is painted with swirling Ixal symbols. Beyond it, there is a vortex of wind. Like the other primals we've encountered so far, Garuda is a long-term Final Fantasy character. She is encountered in many games throughout the series as both an enemy and as a summon conjured by that game's summoners. In 14, she is goddess of the Ixal. And we talked a bit about her last time in the Ixal episode, about how she factors into the Ixal culture. Mm-hmm. But like the wind that she commands, Garuda's nature is fickle and tempestuous. According to Ixal legend, she is a guardian of their ancient floating homeland, Ayatlan, and it was threatened in the depths of history by some force from the earth below. And so she called upon the Ixal of Ayatlan to descend from their homeland and to defend it from this force. Since then, they have remained upon the earth, serving as the guardians of their homeland. So they are now bound to the land in this eternal duty on behalf of Garuda.
Okay.
That is their legend.
It's, like a origin myth.
Of course, Sezul would say otherwise, but
100%.
We'll leave that to them to debate. I don't know if you know this, Jen, but there is actually a follow-up to that whole story in Heaven's Ward.
The Ixal ship?
Yeah.
Oh, no idea.
Oh, great. Look forward to that.
Okay, I will.
So we rush into the heart of the storm, encountering Garuda. She is a large clawed woman.
Big woman.
Alphino says, 12's preserve. She's huge. Direct quote.
He does say that she is huge.
She is covered in white and green feathers and with 4 pairs of wings. 2 pairs on her back, 2 pairs on her head.
She has enormous talons for hands and cloven hooves for feet, which was unique.
And she has a crazy ass laugh. When transcribed into text, it's a huge line of hee-hees and ha-has that has alternating caps.
Yeah.
Super good.
The design of her face is definitely very bird-like and just like the lighting of everything. I just think she looks super cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because the whole area is covered by this tempest, so we can't see the sun. This is all lit by this kind of sickly green
yeah,
light.
it's like greenish blue, and you're very much in her area.
Yep, in her area.
Yeah, it's all up in her area.
She is surrounded by a pack of Ixal. They have captured kobolds and Amalja as sacrifices. And she declares that all who crawl the earth should revere her. She is the wind. Sid challenges her. We defeated the winds with our technology. Are we not above her? We are bound by nothing.
Yeah.
But no, she retorts. Our playthings will not help us here. Struggle though we may, she shall slake the roots with our blood and festoon the canopy with our entrails. So Sid and Alphino send us to face Garuda head-on while they go to combat the Ixal.
I felt really bad for the Amalja and Kobold prisoners here. It was like I almost was dreading this whole thing because I didn't want to see it again because it like I felt really bad, like almost to the point of tears. Where we haven't gotten to this point yet, but you know when they're beseeching Titan and Ifrit to save them from this, like that's so sad. I hated it. Anyway, so now we have to fight this bitch.
The arena is the literal eye of the storm. There are winds swirling all about it, and 4 pillars of stone that are placed in the rough center of the arena in a square. These are like stacked rock pillars.
Yeah, cairns, yeah. Or cairns.
This fight is pretty straightforward in my opinion, with a few wrinkles to look out for. So first, when she shoots into the sky, hide behind one of the pillars and block line of sight / sound from her ensuing minstrel song, which will mess you up if you're caught out in the open. She will also summon several green feathers called razor plumes, and these will zip around the arena and damage those stone pillars. You want to burn them ASAP. At about the halfway point, she will ascend into the sky and drop down in the center of the arena, unleashing a high damage attack. And this does damage based on how destroyed those pillars are, which is why you want to make sure that they're intact by killing the plumes.
Right.
Assuming that you withstand this attack, then she blasts away the pillars entirely, entering the second phase of the fight, which is actually a lot more straightforward. It's pretty much a tank and spank here.
Yeah.
She will bring the Eye of the Storm in closer, so she brings in the winds even closer to the center, leaving you a very small area to fight in, but beyond that, it's pretty basic. So we take her down, and that's that.
So we thought...
She begins to drift away, wailing as though defeated, but a sudden surge of energy renews her. She explodes with a burst of fresh power, and we see the Ixal at the perimeter praying, filling her with energy. She cries out laughing. As long as she has worshippers, she will never fall.
So, hilariously, this is when Sid and Alphino wake up. They're like, oh yeah, the prayers are strengthening her. Let's go deal with that. Then they run, but she shoots a very violent gust of wind at them, knocks them off their feet, and that's that. And she's like, you guys are done. Like, I'm good to go here, okay?
And so she promises the destruction of the Eorzeans.
Systemically, like continent by continent.
Yep. The forest dwellers, the sand crawlers, and the sea lice. But we, our character, shall be the first to go.
Oh, okay.
We will serve her for eternity.
No, you're cute. Mm-mm.
So she surrounds us with a personal whirlwind, which is meant to temper us, but we emerge unscathed. The echo protects us from tempering. The sky suddenly darkens and the wind stills. We start hearing the Final Fantasy arpeggio, the music associated with Hydaelyn. Garuda wails in protest as a wind elemental crystal emerges from her chest and floats towards us, finally completing our elemental crystal collection.
We literally knocked the wind out of her.
Nice. No mortal should possess such power, she screams. This is impossible.
You jelly? I'm jelly.
And we think she's done for good. The Ixal cry out in despair, and from the sidelines, Gaius emerges.
Great.
Is that all Garuda has to offer? He asks.
Oh,
Lady of the Vortex, O mighty Garuda. Of all primals, the most terrible, I say again, is that all?
Gaius goes on to challenge Sid. What did he hope to accomplish here?
Sid's like, what?
I mean,
is it not obvious?
Sid has a reason, but he's kind of dumbstruck. We'll give him the benefit of the doubt and say that he is dumbstruck by seeing Gaius and he's not forgotten the whole kill Garuda mission we're here for.
Oh, for sure. No, it's more like, what a fucking weird loaded-ass question that I don't need to fucking answer.
So the Ixal rush Gaius and he unloads on them with his arm cannon. They are all shot down before him. Meanwhile, Garuda marks us for what we are, touched by Hydaelyn. And does she still mean to fight, wonders Sid, after all this? Yes, she does.
All right, so this is the ace up her sleeve. This is all she's got, right? So she sicks a couple of tornadoes onto the prisoners, on the group of Amalja and the group of kobolds, and makes it so they are forced to beseech their gods, Ifrit and Titan, respectively.
The wind lashes at their skin.
I mean, yeah, it's gonna hurt, and this is why it's so sad. Like they're crying out to their god to be saved because they believe so much in their soul that they will be saved, and that's just not how it works. And so unfortunately, their souls are forfeit, but they do what Garuda wanted them to do, which was summon their primals. So Ifrit and Titan are both summoned to the Howling Eye and are now basically backup for yet another fight.
But this was Gaius's plan all along. High above, unbeknownst to everyone here, there is a group of Imperial airships, the little cylinder flappy wheelie guys, that are carrying some unknown cargo. And we've seen this thing a couple times so far, this weird kind of construct they've been carrying around. Finally, though, it is revealed in full force. They drop their cargo, it comes crashing down. This is a massive, towering above even the primals, mechanical dragon centaur. Ifrit and Titan rush it, but it seizes them in its claws and drains them of aether.
Just so easily.
Yeah.
Like eating a cracker.
And only Garuda is left now. Gaius challenges her. The ancient Alligans had means of dealing with her kind. Look upon this ultimate weapon and despair. Garuda tries to flee, but the weapon snatches her as well and absorbs her aether.
Yeah, just snatches her right out of the air and eats her head. The ultimate weapon is now imbued with the essence of all three of these primals now. And he did it without even, like, a thought. Just so easy. So this is fucked up.
We cut over to see Laha Brea standing on one of the airships above the arena. And he gloats. The weapon's power grows with every primal it consumes.
Great.
Back on the ground, Gaius has stepped into one of the weapon's claws. He starts now to grandstand to the Enterprise because we have cleared out.
Now we're in the air again. We're like, this is dumb.
But he is yelling at the specter of the Enterprise, a little dot in the sky. If our leaders are wise, they will surrender. Our skills are impressive, but they are not enough. And now, on the Enterprise, we despair at this fresh development. Alphino especially.
Yeah, he's like, what the fuck do we do now? Oh my god. Alphino's had a couple of these moments in this whole scene, and Sid remains completely, like, level-headed. He's like, don't panic, let's just run. Okay, we gotta run.
Sid also relates to us Gaius's identity. And on hearing his name, Alphino realizes that this person, the Black Wolf, was mentioned in Louis Sua's journals.
Yes.
However, there has been no sign of this new threat, this new weapon, until just now. Wherever the Empire found it, it caught everyone unawares. The silver lining, though, is at least the primals are dealt with. They are no longer a threat. So now we can focus wholly on combating this new foe.
Right. And part of that silver lining is that because this new weapon exists, no one will be summoning shit. So it's a very effective deterrent, but shit. This is bad, guys.
So we head back for Vesper Bay, intent on rebuilding the Scions and tackling this new foe. But all is not lost, says Alphino, for we bear the light, and shall surely lead our people from the darkness. So it is once again time to return to the Waking Sands, and that's where we leave off for now. So, Jen, I have mixed feelings about this segment we talked about today. First, I love the Garuda shit. Like the whole bit from getting on board the Enterprise to where we wrapped up just now. Fantastic. Completely. The voice acting, like especially Garuda.
It's like they put a distortion pedal on her voice, but it's very much like hearing the echoes of this powerful female voice through winds. It's pretty great.
And her mood swings from manic to menacing are also like she nails her built up persona on point.
100%. Like you can see the capriciousness, the greedy goddessness, as Sizzle would say. Yeah, she's just really impressive looking. I love her face. I love her eyes, how they're just like one big glossed over, almost like if you've seen like an owl that is blind, they just have this, there's no pupil. It's just a solid, dark, black eye, like a doll's eye. She has this like crazy beak-looking nose, and her like her whole face shape and her lip shape. It's very, it's humanoid, but it speaks to monster. It speaks to bird. It speaks to alien. I love the cloven hooves. I think that's so cool. And also she's got this like hella stiletto on the back of each one. With a lady boss, you gotta have a stiletto.
You know it.
Yeah, stomp on me, mommy. But anyway, yeah, like just the environment is really, it feels spooky and oppressive. And if you look at the little weather nodule up on your clock or whatever, it just says gales, and it shows like the green and the wind. And
now though, those Aether crystals.
We got all 6. We win the game.
No, not the elemental crystals, the corrupted ones.
Oh, I see. Okay.
The good part about this is that I think the gameplay, for the most part, is fun in the whole collection sequence. So, Burning Wall and Isles of Umbra, great environments.
Yeah.
Gameplay is good there too. For the Burning Wall, you navigate down through all these enemies and you get to enjoy all the scenery, and eventually you end up at the very base of this very complex and maze-like formation.
Yeah, and you cannot just fall off and just drop down and be like, that's fine. No, you have to find the path.
Yep.
It will not let you just jump off. And if you're lucky, when you get down to the corrupted crystal, there might be a fate waiting for you with like a big-ass mirror eye guy.
Yeah.
But that was very cool. And then, obviously, the Isles of Umbra, very atmospheric. This is very much just classic maritime mythology with the siren and the...
And also, there's a lot of build up to it.
And it's all rumors. Like, the scientists are like, it's folklore. And then the guys who have been on it are like, no, literally, there's like undead walking around. So you don't know how to deal with this until you get there.
But the key, though, is that there is a huge payoff, which is the siren. Like, you get this entirely new enemy, this custom boss fight. After all this stuff, too, it does not end with a fart. It ends with this climax. And
it's not just like a bunch of goblins. It's like
I'm contrasting this with the Company of Heroes, where it's the big sandworm, he's so big and he's so rare. Then it's like a fucking 5-hit sandworm, he's dead. This built up and paid off. It is not spawning a bigger version of an enemy and then you hit it a few times.
It's a very satisfying conclusion to this little mini mystery. And then now you have access to the Isles of Umbra, and you probably have a bunch of shit in your hunting log that you can deal with there. So
for sure.
There you go. That's where they are.
And then there's the standing courses, which at least is over quickly.
The standing courses, one of the areas of
It's an area in the game.
Indeed. Well, you get to meet Giggity, so there you go.
Anyway, 2 or 3 ain't bad, but the thing that gets me, though, is the story that connects these things is absolutely asinine. Our character cannot communicate. We're made a fucking idiot where we cannot communicate basic facts like, I need a crystal to nullify the wind.
Yeah.
And we make the same mistake twice. We think we would have learned after the first time, maybe share the details with this professor of corrupted crystals.
Or these like nerdy ass nerds would just like overwhelm us with questions like what and why and who and how and what. But no, nobody's talking. Nobody's asking anything. We're all just operating under like the most basic of assumptions, and we're all burned for it.
It's the dumbest premise to justify this story. And I'm assuming that
they're so annoying too.
They made us do this 3-part thing because they wanted to make us go to these areas.
Yeah. Yeah, like I would never have traveled down to the standing courses ever. Not that that's like necessary, but it is nice to see, you know, just like the breadth of landscapes that exist on Heidelin, which is really cool.
I think the standing courses is going to be the miss on the tour guide.
I mean, if you've been to Alder Springs, you've seen the standing courses. It's fine.
If you've been to a cave, you've seen the standing courses.
Yeah, it's not a super unique.
If you've been to a hole in the ground.
Yeah, it's just overrun with Spriggans, I guess, is the unique bit. Or if you're a corrupted crystal scientist, then
sure,
that's your jam.
That said, like I was having fun doing the actual gameplay of it. I remember
this sequence of events very vividly once I got back into it. I'm like, I remember these people, and for some reason I thought that it would happen a lot later in the MSQ, but we are at the end. We're there. Yes.
We have a few more bits to go before we are done with the original, not counting post completion, A Realm Reborn story.
And then that's going to be a whole thing.
Oh, sure. Any other comments about today's story, Jen?
We're going to see Mimidoa again. I'm pretty sure we see him again.
I don't recall.
Okay. Like, I think we meet up with him again in Costa del Sol. I'm like, I remember you. You're the ass grabber.
This is why I have a spreadsheet of every character we've met in the MSQ, because they pull characters back, and with my shitty ass recollection for names and dates, I need a written reference.
Yeah.
Unlike fucking Medin, I do write shit down, and it helps me remember.
Who's Medin?
The last guy in the Crystal Quest.
Hedin.
Oh, whatever.
Hedin.
You see, this is why I gotta write shit down. These names go in and out of my head.
I remembered Sienna very, very much, because there's something about her that was so annoying to me the first time I did this. I'm like, God, this woman.
So, special announcement time.
Ooh.
We are about to get into the 8-person and 24-person content in like the post game.
Yeah.
And we are going to open up the door for listeners to come and join us as we do the trials and raids of the later A Realm Reborn content.
Awesome.
Sadly, you must be on a North American data center to run duties with us, as cross-region play is not currently possible. So we now have a Discord set up. You can find the link in the show notes. If you follow that link, you can hop on the Pod Return to the Waking Sands Discord server.
Hell yeah.
And then we will be posting kind of like sign up things for the upcoming content.
So fun.
For the moment, we are going to do a trial run of this system on the next optional 4-person dungeon, which I think is Darkhold.
It's male Darkhold, yes.
Yeah. We will have a post to respond to if you want to join us for Darkhold. Again, this is an optional dungeon. This has room for 2 listeners. This is not the meat of it. It's just the trial run. There will be a lot more room for people to join once we do the bigger group content later on. We would love some help beta testing this before we open it up to like Crystal Tower and shit.
Yeah, which will be quite the undertaking.
Yeah. So next time, we are talking about the ninja job quest through level 50.
And that will do it for today's episode. Thank you guys, as always, so much for listening. If you have questions, comments, whatever the fuck, you can get in touch with us at podreturnffxiv@gmail.com or on the Twitters at podreturn. We recently posted a thing from the cookbook. It's just every once in a while, like, hey, let's make a thing and take a picture and put it on Twitter. And yeah, so we really hope that you enjoyed the episode and have a good day or night. And we will see you next time.